Is the media merely a puppet in the hands of those who wish to shape public perception? This question, my friends, is one of the most pressing conundrums of our current media landscape. In this grand theatre of life, assumes the role of the puppeteer, pulling the strings of public sentiment. It shapes narratives, influences opinions, and crafts perceptions. But what happens when the puppeteer becomes happens when the media, the supposed watchdog of society, is manipulated to serve the interests of a select few? In a world obsessed with appearances, image is everything. It's the currency that buys public sympathy and elicits. This image, however, is not always the reflection of reality. It's often a meticulously crafted illusion, carefully orchestrated for public consumption. And who better to weave this illusion than the media? Influence and the power to shape narratives. But herein lies the danger. For when the media becomes a tool in the hands of the powerful, it ceases to be the beacon of truth it's supposed to be. Instead, dancing to the tune of its puppeteer, its strings pulled to create a spectacle designed to sway public sentiment. It's no longer about reporting facts or seeking truth. It's about creating a narrative that serves a purpose. This manipulation of the media is not just about controlling what is reported, but also how it is reported. The choice of words, the emphasis on certain details, the framing of the narrative is a part of a larger strategy to shape public perception. It's a game of shadows and illusions, where the puppeteer hides behind the puppet, pulling the strings from the darkness. This brings us to the subject of today's discussion: SHIP. Here we have a classic case of a media figure being manipulated to serve a specific narrative. But to understand the full extent of this manipulation, we need to delve deeper into the intricacies of this puppet-puppeteer relationship. So let's pull back the curtain and expose the strings that control the puppet. Chris Shipp, a journalist known for his reporting on King Charles, often finds himself in the spotlight. Now let's take a closer look at Shipp's style of reporting. It's characterized by an emphasis on the dramatic, the sympathetic. Take, for instance, the way he describes King Charles's departure from Clarence House, painting it as a spectacle, complete with a purposely wound-down window to ensure the perfect photo opportunity. This is not your typical journalistic approach. This is storytelling, and it's carefully crafted to manipulate public sentiment. Shipp's stories are filled with details designed to tug at heartstrings. He emphasizes the ongoing battle with cancer, the sudden hospital visits, and the long journeys from London to Highgrove. But what purpose do these serve? They are not critical pieces of information that the public needs to know. They are narrative devices used to construct an image of King Charles as a figure of enduring struggle and resilience. This is not to say that King Charles's health struggles are insignificant, far from it. But the issue here lies in the way these struggles are presented. They are not reported as facts, but as elements of a carefully curated narrative. They are used to generate sympathy, to keep Charles in the public eye, not as a public figure, but as a suffering individual. And it's not just the content of Shipp's reporting that is problematic. It's also the frequency. Every single movement of Charles is highlighted. Every detail is given significance. This constant attention serves to maintain the narrative of Charles as a figure of public concern, of sympathy. But what is the substance of his reporting? Let's delve deeper. It becomes clear that Shipp's reporting is not just about informing the public, it's about shaping perception. It's about creating a narrative that keeps King Charles at the centre of public attention, not for his actions or achievements, but for his struggles. And that is where the real concern lies. Shipp's reports often revolve around King Charles, painting him as a figure of sympathy. It's a recurring theme, an unending narrative that never fails to surface in Shipp's reports. Each word, each sentence, each paragraph, all meticulously woven to paint a picture of King Charles as a figure of sympathy. The emphasis on the king's supposed struggle, the endurance and resilience, these are not mere coincidences, but carefully curated elements of a larger narrative. For instance, the detail of King Charles departing from Clarence House after a sudden hospital visit, as Shipp so dramatically puts it, The window purposely wound down, a calculated move to ensure the world sees a carefully framed image of Charles. It's not just good reporting, it's strategic storytelling, manipulating the public sentiment in the process. Then, there's the constant emphasis on Charles's ongoing cancer treatment, a year-long struggle that Shipp never fails to mention. It's a clever ploy, a tactic to tug at the heartstrings of the audience. But let's not forget, illness is a universal plight, not a headline exclusive to a royal figure. And the narrative doesn't stop there. Every single movement of Charles is presented as a significant event. The departure to Highgrove, the emphasis on the first car, all seemingly trivial details, yet under Shipp's narration, they become symbols of endurance and resilience. So we have to ask ourselves, is this journalism? Or is it a sympathy campaign? Is Shipp reporting events as they are? Or is he pushing a narrative, crafting a story designed to generate unwarranted sympathy for King Charles? The answer seems clear. This isn't about reporting facts, but about shaping public perception. It's about turning King Charles into a figure of sympathy, a suffering individual whose every action is carefully planned and orchestrated for the public eye. So, is this journalism or a sympathy campaign? It's time we discern the difference. The media's power to manipulate public perception is evident in Shipp's reporting. This is no mere observation. It's a fact, a reality we live with every day. Shipp's portrayal of King Charles is not an unbiased account, it's a carefully crafted narrative, a tale spun with a clear purpose, to elicit sympathy for a man who, in reality, lives a life of privilege and power. Now let's unravel the threads of this narrative. Shipp's reporting is far from incidental. Every detail, no matter how minute, is highlighted with precision, designed to evoke specific emotions. The sudden hospital visit, the purposely wound-down window, the emphasis on Charles's ongoing battle with cancer. All these are not random snippets of information, but calculated pieces of a larger puzzle. This puzzle, once complete, presents a picture of King Charles as a figure of suffering and resilience. But this is not an accurate reflection of reality. It's a mirage, a manufactured perception. The reality is that King Charles is just another man with his own set of challenges. Yes, he battles illness, but so do millions of others. His struggle is not unique, but his platform, his visibility, makes it seem so. Now, why would Shipp and his ilk want to generate such an image? The answer is simple. Sympathy. Sympathy is a powerful tool. It can sway public opinion, shape perceptions, and even manipulate actions. And King Charles, in his position of power, stands to benefit from this sympathy. But what's alarming is not the manipulation itself, but the subtlety and sophistication with which it's carried out. The narrative is so skillfully woven, the details so meticulously chosen, that it's easy to overlook the underlying agenda. It's easy to forget that we're being manipulated, that our emotions are being played with. But what should we as consumers of this media do? That's a question we must all ask ourselves, because if we don't, we risk falling prey to this manipulation, becoming mere puppets in a grand spectacle orchestrated by those in power. As consumers of media, it is our duty to critically evaluate the content we consume. In a world where news is as accessible as the device in your pocket, it is all too easy to accept what we read and see at face value. But as we have seen with the case of Chris Shipp's reporting on King Charles, the reality can often be a carefully constructed narrative, designed to elicit a specific response and shape public perception. We must resist the urge to passively accept these narratives. We must question the media we consume. We must look beyond the sensational headlines, the dramatic images, and the emotive language and ask ourselves, what is the true story here? What is the motive behind this narrative? And most importantly, who stands to benefit from our belief in it? In the case of King Charles, the narrative being pushed upon us is one of a suffering figure, eliciting our sympathy and concern. But is this narrative genuine? Or is it a carefully orchestrated campaign designed to keep Charles in the public eye? We must not allow ourselves to be manipulated by these media narratives. We must strive to seek the truth, to look beyond the surface, to understand the motives and machinations behind the stories we are presented with. We must remember that the power to shape public perception is not solely in the hands of the media, it lies also with us, the audience. We have the ability to question, to scrutinize, to seek the truth, and we must use this power responsibly. So let us not be swayed by the sensationalism and the sympathy campaigns. Let's look beyond the headlines, beyond the images, beyond the narratives. Let's seek the truth, for it is only through truth that we can truly understand the world around us. Remember, the power to shape public perception lies not just with the media, but also with us, the audience.